I'm CBS Sacramento's Ashley Sharp, your reporter covering Yolo County. For 5 months, I've been looking into serious allegations involving the Woodland Joint Unified School District, specifically its special education department. Now, the night before the district knew that this story would air, the superintendent sent out an email blast district-wide to all parents about our reporting, spelling out what the district says they're doing to make their special ed programs better. Now, I want to stress that I've given the district multiple opportunities for months to provide us with those specific answers. And in part one of this 3-part series, parents and advocates I've spoken with say Woodland Joint Unified has a lot to answer for.
This is a crisis on the federal level, but most people don't even know it exists.
They talk to us parents like, we don't know what's best for our child.
At Zamora Elementary School, one mother's fight, she feels, echoes the struggles of other parents within the Woodland Joint Unified School District.
Natalie is behind educationally. The tests show it, and they didn't want to even help support her.
Serena Oliver's daughter, Natalie, is in kindergarten. Diagnosed with autism, she spent preschool and special ed classes within the district. But starting this school year is when Serena says the problems started. And at Natalie's first kindergarten IEP meeting, she felt silenced.
They were going to put her into general education with no support at all.
An IEP, or Individualized Education Program, is required by federal law, outlining what classroom supports are needed for a child in special education. Serena alleges the district excluded verbally agreed upon supports from that document and even lied about her daughter's progress to support a move out of special education.
They weren't taking it serious. It seemed like they were just trying to throw all the kids in mainstream. That's where majority of her preschool class ended up.
Educating one California student in special ed can be 3 times as expensive as general education. And last school year, state data shows Woodland Joint Unified had 1,770 kids enrolled in special ed, the highest of any district in Yolo County. In Natalie's case, Serena says she's also been in the wrong class all year, in violation of her original IEP, which stated she should be in a kindergarten class for kids with mild to moderate needs. Instead, she was placed in a class for severe needs. Serena eventually opted to keep Natalie there, feeling she was out of options.
For her to dislike kindergarten as much as she does is really sad, because it's kind of shaping her education in a negative light.
Serena is one of dozens of district parents who asked the Sacramento Autistic Spectrum and Special Needs Alliance, or SASNA, for help. The nonprofit advocates for students with special needs and their families region-wide, providing help navigating social services, even attending students' IEP meetings. CEO Dave Gaines says Natalie's story is one example of many.
We started getting kind of a stream of requests for help from parents in Woodland Joint Unified. We'd never seen anything like it before from this district.
Dave says he's working with around 40 clients, all current or former parents and teachers, all bringing forward their own allegations against the district.
It's probably the most severe situation I've seen in my 15 years of doing this kind of work.
So what are the allegations? Dave Gaines says based on interviews with his SASNA clients he can share, they include claims that classrooms are being taught long-term by a substitute or a non-qualified teacher, that some students are not getting the supports outlined in their IEPs, a pattern of trying to push some students out of special ed, and even allegations of some classrooms with no teacher at all.
I have information, very credible information, that happened for a period of up to 7 months for a class with 12, 13, 14 significantly disabled students. Students with behavioral concerns, students that run away. There's safety concerns there.
That, Dave alleges, happened at a district adult education class for those with special needs. This school year, SASNA has sent a letter to the district offering to collaborate to address alleged substantial legal deficiencies and a, quote, cover-up of systemic problems. He says the district has provided no real response. It's why he contacted CBS Sacramento. He also emailed the school board and district that he plans to pursue criminal prosecution for violating students' federal education rights, even filing a complaint with the United States Department of Justice. The DOJ, in response, directed the United States Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights to look into his concerns. Dave says that is ongoing.
In a lot of cases, Woodland and the other school districts, they know they're in violation of the law. The system doesn't allow them to not be in violation of the law. It says you have to do all this by law, but we're not going to give you enough resources to do it.
I took all of these claims to the district, and while leaders chose not to respond directly, they told me that they take the allegations seriously, and back in December said that they would conduct an internal review of the special education department. Well, we checked back in now 4 months later, and they say that review is still ongoing. A spokesperson also told me the district is, quote, deeply committed to providing high-quality education and upholding the rights of all students. So what's the response of the California Department of Education? A Public Records Act request revealed there were at least 6 complaints last school year against the district that were investigated and closed. In one of those cases, the state found the district was breaking the law, requiring a fix on the finding that the district did not comply with the student's IEP. And for at least one still open complaint, CDE told the district's superintendent on December 6th that it would investigate further claims alleging violations of special education laws. But CDE tells me, though the district is being monitored by a Yolo County agency for significant ethnic and racial disparities, that the district at large has not received any corrective actions from CDE.
What we don't want is what's been going on for a long time, which is just complaint after complaint after complaint, and single complaints are resolved, but the problem's never resolved.
Dave says it's a funding and staffing deficit, decades in the making, hoping by calling attention to it to make a difference. In this email sent to parents on Sunday night, the district's superintendent was quick to point out that these challenges are not unique to Woodland, saying that they're working to address staffing shortages through ramped up recruitment. They also added 3 special day classes based on student need. They brought on a new special education administrator and are providing professional development for special ed teachers and staff. Now to part 2 in this series, where teachers talk lessons learned after leaving Woodland Joint Unified. Allegations indicative of a larger nationwide problem. That and why a group of lawmakers is calling for a nationwide funding fix to a special education crisis.
As a teacher, you sometimes have to balance, is this worth losing my job?
There's a fear among teachers of speaking up to a district and speaking out against it, knowing blowing the whistle, in a sense, could cost them their profession. Hi, how are you? I tracked down 2 former Woodland Joint Unified School District teachers who want to share their stories, but only anonymously. Still teaching in other districts, they fear retaliation. I'll identify them as Teacher 1 and Teacher 2. Describe to me what happened.
So I was assaulted by 2 different students within about a 15-minute period. No one gave me any warning that people had been hurt in that class.
Teacher 1 served as a substitute at Gibson Elementary in a special education classroom last school year, where she says she was attacked by students, something she learned later had happened before.
I'm a second-degree black belt, and I didn't even see it coming because I think he cocked, and I couldn't see it based on where I was. And all of a sudden, I just fly back, and he had done a direct palm strike to the bridge of my nose.
She says another student yanked her hair, kicked, and punched her.
The whole process of how to report an injury was not followed at all.
At the emergency room, Teacher 1 says she learned she had a concussion and a neck sprain. In a meeting with Woodland Joint Unified District leaders, she says she told them directly that they were at fault, not the students.
You should have told me that 2 kids are violent in that class. And I would have known to distance myself. I'm not going to work in Woodland now. My experience was so horrible that I can't see myself ever working in the district I live in, which is unfortunate.
Teacher 2 taught a special education preschool class and at the time had 10 years of experience. After this job with Woodland Joint Unified, did you consider quitting teaching entirely?
I absolutely did, but my heart is really in the service.
After advocating that one of her students needed additional one-on-one support in the classroom, Teacher 2 says she took data backing that up to the district and fought for it. She claims she was fired in retaliation, an allegation a district spokesperson declined to comment on.
They did approve the one-on-one for the student, so for me that was a win. However, I was pink slipped and asked not to come back and told I wasn't a good cultural fit. I cried. If I'm going to be honest, it was really sad because I really liked the students and I really liked the staff that I worked with. And it's unfortunate that our system is kind of set up where if you have a teacher that's willing to advocate for their students, they're kind of ostracized and isolated, especially in districts that are really struggling.
Those speaking out hope to highlight one thing: our schools need help. And this is bigger than Woodland Joint Unified.
This is a local issue, but it stems from a national issue.
Here's Dave Gaines, CEO of the nonprofit Sacramento Autistic Spectrum and Special Needs Alliance, an advocacy group that helps area families and their children with special needs navigate schooling and social services.
The system of education for students with disabilities in public schools across the country is really broken. It comes from primarily two things: lack of funding, significant lack of funding, also staffing shortages. You either lower the standards to go down to what the resources are, or you got to raise the resources to be able to meet the standards.
Trying to do just that are a group of bipartisan lawmakers in Congress, including Senators Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla of California.
We are really derelict in what we committed to doing, and what that means is it puts a lot of pressure on the school districts.
Reintroducing legislation to fully fund special education 50 years after the passage of the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, or IDEA. Under it, the federal government committed to pay 40% of the per-student price for special ed.
We continue as a country to fall short on this promise.
Current funding is less than 12%. This school year, that shortfall is more than $38 billion nationwide.
But it's never been fully funded, which has created the situation. Schools are trying and doing their best. Unfortunately, their best isn't meeting the needs of students.
The IDEA Full Funding Act would mandate regular increases in special ed spending. What's unclear is if Congress can finally pass it. In a Trump administration climate, laser focused on cutting costs, Senator Padilla said President Trump's cruel dismantling of the Department of Education is putting millions of students with disabilities at risk of losing essential IDEA funding.
This is about the future, the well-being, and in some cases, the lives of children with disabilities.
It's a call to action from the classroom to Congress that comes at a high cost. President Trump, in his executive order last month to close the Federal Department of Education and return that power to the states, said that when it comes to education in general, per-student spending nationwide has increased more than 245% since the 1970s without much education progress to show for it. I asked the Trump administration for comment on those cuts and how they plan to still make sure that the most vulnerable students have the supports they need. After all, it can be 3 times as expensive to educate one child in special ed. Department of Education Secretary Linda McMahon said, quote, "What we need to do is to make sure that the funding has a clear path. The funding continues, but that the states are allowed to spend the money where they need to spend it, to hire teachers, increase their salaries, to make sure our students with special needs are taken care of." Now, the final story in this three-part series. A mother is on a mission to hold Woodland Joint Unified accountable after she says her daughter with special needs was sexually assaulted at school. In a lawsuit set for trial before a Yolo County judge early next year, she says her child has been left with lifelong trauma.
This was preventable, which is, I think, the biggest tragedy here.
A Woodland mother is taking her fight against the Woodland Joint Unified School District to Yolo County Court. The crux of this lawsuit is that the district should have and could have protected your child, and they didn't.
Yes, that's correct.
She asked CBS Sacramento not broadcast her name or show her face in this interview to protect her daughter's identity. She'd been in district special education since kindergarten, diagnosed with intellectual disabilities. As court documents outline, in July 2023, she was enrolled at a summer program here at Pioneer High School when the unthinkable happened.
I received a phone call that police were on their way.
As the lawsuit alleges, her daughter was sexually assaulted at school after being followed to the restroom by a fellow classmate, a result of inadequate supervision.
There was sexual intercourse for her in a bathroom, in a school special ed bathroom, and she did verbalize that she had said no.
That's why the police were called.
Yes.
Further, the lawsuit claims the district was already aware of the student perpetrator's dangerous sexual propensities, who had been filmed kissing the plaintiff. And despite specific steps being taken to separate the students during the school year and additional supervision, that in the summer program, staff failed to take any preventative or safety measures, even putting the two in the same class. This mother says she was made aware of the kissing incident, but not that there were further unwanted advances, and that it was serious enough for school staff to have a plan in place to keep the students separated. She says she didn't find that out until after she filed the lawsuit. How does that make you feel as a parent?
Slighted. I'm putting my child on a bus to go somewhere, and I believe they're going to be safe and well cared for, and that just wasn't the case.
After the alleged assault, a police report was filed and her daughter was sent to the hospital. The lawsuit alleges the student perpetrator admitted to police sexual acts with the same victim on at least 2 prior occasions at Pioneer High.
A lot changed. She regressed. She regressed back to toddler-like stages in a variety of ways. Emotional outbursts, trouble sleeping. Physically and medically, there's been additional diagnoses that have happened. Every day is something of a struggle for her.
She's scared even to go to the restroom.
Yeah.
She eventually had to be admitted to a 24/7 residential treatment facility, in part due to what the lawsuit describes as horrific self-harm. She's now at a new school outside of Woodland on a path to healing with a lot of support.
The impact that this has had to her and will probably continue to have through the remainder of her life is, I just don't even have words.
Hoping in these lawsuit pages to expose allegations the district negligently failed to keep her child safe.
There should have been more supervision for my special needs daughter.
Pushing for accountability and action. When we asked the district to address the allegations in this lawsuit, a spokesperson responded that they do not comment on existing litigation. But I went to Yolo County Superior Court and got the district's response submitted to the court. Attorneys for Woodland Joint Unified issued a blanket denial of all of the claims. This case is set for trial in February. If you have a special education story within Woodland or elsewhere that you want to share with me, you can send me an email. It's ashley.sharp@cbs.com. Thanks for watching.